Good afternoon and welcome to the regular council meeting of Tuesday, September 19th, 2023 at 4:40 p.m. in council chambers and via Zoom. We acknowledge that the town of Kirkland Lake is located on the traditional territory of Algonquin people, including Beaver House First Nation and unceded territory of other Indigenous peoples. We recognize the presence of the Algonquin, Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Cree, and Métis people in our community since time immemorial and honor their stewardship and care of these lands. We hereby affirm our continued commitment and responsibility to reconciliation. Call to order and a moment of silence. Item number 2, approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councillor Rick Owens, seconded by Councillor Lod Chava. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, September 19th, 2023 be approved as circulated, and finally that section 15 of the town of Kirkland Lake's procedural bylaw number 15075 as amended be suspended to allow for a recess to hold a public meeting prior to the commencement of regular business noted in item 6, report of municipal officers and communications.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. None noted. Petitions and delegations. Item number 4, there are none. Item number 5, acceptance of minutes and recommendations.
Moved by Councillor Casey Owens, seconded by Councillor Dolly Dyken. Be it resolved that council approve the minutes of the following meeting. Minutes of the regular meeting of council held September 5th, 2023.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item 5.2.
Moved by Councillor Rick Owens, seconded by Councillor Patrick Kiley. Be it resolved that council adopt the minutes of the following meeting. Minutes of the Tech Pioneer Residence Committee of Management held May 29th, 2023.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item 5.3.
Moved by Councillor Dolly Dyken, seconded by Councillor Lod Chava. Be it resolved that council receive the minutes of the following meetings. Minutes of the Temiskaming Health Unit Board of Health held June 7th, 2023 and August 10th, 2023.
All in favor? Opposed? Item carries unanimous. We'll now take a recess for the public meeting. Okay. I hereby call to order the public meeting of Tuesday, September 19th, 2023. Item number 2, declaration of pecuniary interest. Do any members have anything to declare this evening? None noted. Item number 3, just a reminder to council members that we will have our opportunities to speak on this matter in the upcoming meeting of October the 3rd. Item number 3.1 is proposed remediation, 4-way stop at King and Wood Streets, and proposed sidewalk reinstatement at Wood Street. Stefan Forte, Director of Public Works.
Madam Mayor, Council, and thank you for having me. If you're new to Council, I'm here today to further discuss the proposal that was first brought to Council on July 11th. Which it was to increase safety at the intersection of Queen and Woods by changing the intersection to a 4-way stop intersection. The opinion of the Public Works Department remains unchanged at this time. The automated pedestrian crosswalk that was installed last year remains ineffective, and vehicle traffic is still posing a safety concern to anyone who's trying to use the automated crosswalk. The second point to note is that a 4-way stop will not only increase safety to our pedestrians, it would also increase safety to our drivers, especially while trying to turn left from Woods to Queens. There's a very large visual obstruction due to the bend in the road. The requested changes are the following: to add 2 stop signs so the intersection becomes a 4-way stop intersection, change the overhead mid-intersection 4-way beacon to always, and to reinstate the sidewalk on the southeast corner of the intersection that leads to St. Jerome School. As for just a note for the concrete sidewalk, considering the time of the year, we are very hopeful that the weather is going to cooperate with us and let us pour the sidewalks this year. To date, we've received positive support for the proposed changes, and we're open to any inquiry from council and from the public. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, sir. Item number 4, confirmation of notice. Madam Clerk, how was notice given?
Notice of the rescheduled public meeting was given in accordance with the Town of Kirkland Lake's notice bylaw 2247 by publishing said notice on the town's website 14 days in advance as of August 29th, 2023. Supplemental notice was coordinated within the August 29th, 2023 edition of the municipal update through the town's various social media streams and within local radio broadcasts.
Thank you. Item number 5, correspondence received. Madam Clerk, was there any correspondence received on this matter?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there was one piece of correspondence received from Tricia Stefanik-Wells, Director of Education for Northeastern Catholic District School Board. The correspondence dated September 14th, 2023, and I'll read it for the record. Report number 2023 PW009, proposed remediation for waste stop at Queen Street and Wood Street. Dear Council, please accept this correspondence from the Northeastern Catholic District School Board and CDSB in support of the proposed remediation to install a 4-way stop at Queen Street and Wood Street, modify traffic calming signals at existing pedestrian crosswalks, and reinstatement of sidewalk at the same intersection. As you may be aware, the NCDSB provides high-quality English Catholic education to students at St. Jerome School, located at 128 Wood Street in Kirkland Lake. St. Jerome School is a primary division school offering programs from kindergarten to grade 3. The age range of our students at St. Jerome School is 4 to 9 years old. Student safety is a priority for NCDSB, and given the location of St. Jerome School, we have ongoing concerns about student pedestrian safety in the immediate school community. Vehicular congestion and driver non-compliance with speed limits and traffic rules are also significant issues. We are actively trying to improve our student drop-off and pick-up procedures to ensure maximum security of our students, but we are constantly challenged by the lack of sidewalks on Wood Street and the design of the municipal road in the St. Jerome School neighborhood. We firmly believe that the 4-way stop will help to reduce car speed in the school zone, provide proper pedestrian access to sidewalks, and better protect the safety of St. Jerome School students and their families. Thank you for your consideration of this proposed remediation. We appreciate your partnership in helping to improve the safety and well-being of our students.
Thank you. Item number 6, questions from registered members of the public. Madam Clerk, has anyone registered to provide comments electronically?
There were no registrations or requests for electronic participation received for this evening, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. At this point, I'll invite members of the public who wish to give public notes on this matter to come to the podium. You will have 10 minutes to speak. Sorry. Yes, I'm doing delegation. It's not a public meeting. Sorry. You may speak as long as you wish. But please, I do ask that you identify yourself by your name and your address when you come to speak. Is there any public speakers on this matter? Please come ahead. Yeah. Would you need would you like a chair to sit when you get here? Okay. Okay.
My name is Sula Victoire. I'm on Hudson Bay. And I retired from Central School as a crossing guard in October of last year. And they recently asked me to be the guard at St. Jerome. Okay, I've had an accident, so I'm not working right now. But the situation at St. Jerome, as well as just about any other school in town, is the fact that a lot of the public will take these routes and make them shortcuts when we're trying to cross the kids. And we need 4-way stops because it's just crazy. I've almost been hit quite a few times, and that's not good, right? St. Jerome is a spot right now where being construction stopped. It's very dangerous for the kids because there's nowhere for them to walk. And on that corner especially, it should be a 4-way stop. That's what I'm thinking. 16 years at Central, I kind of have a little bit of a idea of what's going on. You know, the only schools I never took care of was, King George, the high school and federal. I've done across every other school in town, and they've all have problems. So I would like to see personally, I know it's a little bit expensive for what I like, but I would love to see four-way stops at every single school. Especially Central for one, because you've got 3 businesses. And most of the people use Kirkland Street and Station Road as their shortcuts to get to Tim's. And that's dangerous.
We do appreciate your opinions, and that you took the time to come down to speak with us this evening. Do you have anything specific for this crosswalk that we're speaking about?
Yes, I was telling, Stefan here, that where they've got the light right now, they're gonna have to cut the curb right there, because you have to they've got the walkway here. And then over here, it's the curb, and you have to walk up to get to the light in order to, turn the light on, and then you've got the curb to step down. And the whole thing needs to be one wide area for people to walk on. And crossing there, I've noticed a lot of parents will just take and just go right around the corner without even stopping. You know, and there's kids that they have to walk between the construction zone and the cars that are coming out, and there's no room for them to walk. So sooner we can get something like that fixed, the better.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Not a problem, thank you.
We did have a second speaker interested. Please come forward. Just identify yourself by name and address.
My name is Penny Perrier. I'm the Executive Director of Second Street Daycare, and our Queen Street location is located at 119 Queen Street. We've had the second site on Queen Street for the last 7 years. And every morning we walk the kids to school from Queen Street. So that means that myself, or an educator, we could have a maximum of 13 children. We cross the street, could be 3 times, and we walk the kids to school from the daycare to school in the mornings and in the afternoons. So that being said, 1 adult, 13 children, which is within ratio. We've been doing this for 7 years, and the last year has been, the traffic and the amount of people has been increasing because of the bus cancellations and the alarming amount of families that don't utilize school buses anymore. Since COVID, more and more families are driving their children to school. I'm not sure what the rationale is behind that. But that means that there's an overwhelming amount of vehicles in the area now. Since the installation of the crosswalk, I feel as though people are overwhelmed by the amount of signage and the amount of lights, and they don't essentially know how to use the crosswalk. Something else that's changed is that the tenant of the property on the corner has also changed. So in the past, I think that the owner of the home was more lenient with us walking across their grass and walking through the yard because there was no sidewalk there. But now that it's a new tenant, the tenant has expressed concerns over their grass and their plants. And I'm not sure about property lines or anything like that, but the new tenant is not happy that we are going through their yard to get to the school.
Continue.
Sorry, thanks. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to see it. So there's several things that have changed. So there's more vehicles, less buses. The special needs bus pulls in through the front driveway that comes from that intersection, not through the bus driveway, which is down the road a little bit. So now you've got parents in all their vehicles. You have the special needs bus. You have me walking kids. You have children in grade 1 that walk to school alone. Okay, so year 1 and year 2 children who are JK and SK are bused to the school, but any children over that are walking to school. So that means that they don't have parents walking with them and they're very small. So they're children, so their judgment isn't as mature as ours and people might not see them. So there's also that risk. I do feel, in my opinion, I feel as though there should be more measures put in by the school and by the school board, not only by the town. Obviously, there's recommendations that need to be put in place, the removal of the curb, the installation of the sidewalk, the installation of the four-way stop. But I do feel as though the school board and the school can be putting measures in place. I haven't seen plans, but I know that there are plans for a kiss and ride, right? So, or however they name it. So you pull up, your kid gets out, you drive away kind of thing. I know that there is property available. I just don't think that enough measures have been put in place by the school. So I'm encouraging the town council to have discussions with Julia, the principal, and have those measures put in place. I've been advocating for a long time for this. I've had conversations with, I call the OPP on a regular. I call the OPP once a week at least. Hey, you need to get down here. I've stopped the OPP mid-intersection and been like, hey, you need to check this out. I've been in touch with the town, the works department, the school board, road safety coalition through the health unit. I've spoken to yourself, Mayor, personally about this. I'm very passionate about it. It's at the point where if something doesn't come into place, we will not be able to offer this service to families, unfortunately. I don't feel safe walking. I don't feel as though the children are safe walking there. So that's where we are at as an organization, is that the safety of the children is not being prioritized. I wish I would have written out a list. I didn't know I'd have this opportunity, but just know that someone is going to get hurt if something isn't put in place. And I might be sounding dramatic, but there's been lots of protocols. So, thank you.
Thank you. We do appreciate you coming down and advocating for your kids and the students there. Anything further from members of the public? None noted. Thank you. Item number 7, consideration of proposed bylaws. Madam Clerk, please read the directions stemming from this public meeting.
Is that an amending bylaw to town of Kirkland parking bylaw number 1517 as amended pertaining to the proposed amendments presented to table B, stop signs at intersections, and schedule B3, stop signs at intersections, be brought forward for 3 readings at the October 3rd, 2023 meeting of council.
Thank you. This is the recommendation moving forward from this meeting. Thank you, sir.
Procedure.
Yes, sir.
I have a question on procedure, if I may move forward. So because we know it's an issue and like this has to come back on October 3rd, is there a way to move this timeline forward for a stop sign instead of having to wait that 2 weeks and taking an extra chance in the procedure?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Owens. This is a public meeting, so if you feel as though there's a health and safety concern for the community outside of the public meeting, then I encourage you to contact the Chief Administrative Officer and he'll direct the Public Works Office and to any kind of signage that is required right now before a decision of council is made.
Councillor Chaba.
I noticed that the director is trying to add something to the conversation. Is that out of line? Is it just allowed?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to all of council. This is a public meeting, so council is only receiving comments from the public this evening. They will be receiving additional information by way of a supplemental report at your October 3rd meeting, including amendments to the bylaw. So if there's any sense of urgency in terms of outside of the scope of this meeting this evening, it's to be directed to the CAO, who will address it with the staff from an operations perspective.
Okay. Thank you, council members. Thank you, Mr. Parting. So we will now conclude the public meeting this evening. Thank you to members of the public that came. We do appreciate the time that you give to come and speak on behalf of your community. So thank you. And we will return to regular meeting. So if you'd like to, thank you so much, everyone. Okay, so we're gonna rise from recess. At 5. Okay, item number 6, reports from municipal officers and communications. 6.1, award of contract 2023 paving program, modified scope of work. Stefan Fortin, Director of Public Works, you may come back.
Well, the purpose of this report is to inform council that a significant change in the scope of work is required if we want to remain within budget for this year's paving needs. Originally, in our 10-year road reconstruction plan, year one's work included the resurfacing of Water Lane, a portion of Churchill Drive, Duncan Avenue North, and a portion of Tweedsmuir Way. An RFP was issued in July, and we received one bid from Miller Paving Northern, which the price was nearly double what we had originally estimated. Seeing as the price is so high, our recommendations to council is to remove Duncan Avenue North and Churchill Drive from the scope of the work as to be within budget for this capital work. We discovered recently that the infrastructure beneath Duncan Avenue North is over 100 years old, dating back to the 1920s. Therefore, it's not a bad idea to remove it from this year's work, as I do strongly believe that a full reconstruction of that area will be needed, and that it will help out their pressures with their water system. As for Churchill Drive, our roads department would like a little bit more time to upgrade the storm system and select locations on that road prior to undertaking the resurfacing. It's something that we were hoping to get to this year, and we're still hoping to maybe get to it, but there's a lot of work on it. For these reasons, we don't recommend moving forward with Duncan Avenue North and Churchill Drive this year, but it does remain as an alternative to council. If council does wish to move forward with all the work this year, we would need council's approval to draw $525,000 from the working capital reserve. Final note is that we also incorporated the asphalt patching within this RFP for simplification needs. We have a $60,000 operations budget for the patches, and from these high prices, we think we need $26,000 and $450 more to complete the patches. So what we recommend is for council to draw these additional funds from the same paving contract capital budget as presented in this report. For all these reasons, we recommend council to enter into a contract agreement with Miller Paving Northern to complete the modified scope of work. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from council? Councilor Owens?
Again, we're passing the bylaw to approve this contract on October 3rd. We are in Northern Ontario, and it seems that we all know municipal politics moves incredibly painfully slow. Are we going to have time to pave all of this year?
It is the hope. Winter sets in at different times, different years, or it is the hope.
So what happens if we run out of time? The funds were midway through a pave. Does this automatically get pushed back to 2024, or do we have to reapply for tender and the whole process starts again?
Well, the unallocated portion of the budget would remain in reserve, and council could approve to continue the project in the next year.
That's how it works for sure. Yeah, we wouldn't have to go through this entire process.
Anything further from council? Council Kylie?
Preview, your worship. Stefan, item 6 on your revised list, paved walkway removed. What does that entail?
We were in discussions, through you to Councilor Kelly. There was some discussion in regards to a missing sidewalk in front of Civic. And we thought it was a good opportunity to at least ask for a price from Miller Paving, which is why we saw it in the original RFP. We saw the price, there were other decisions made, and it's something that we're not moving forward with this year, but that's why we see it. It's because we have requested a price. Thank you.
Counselor Dyken?
To you, Mayor, to Director Fortin. Just not being familiar with what's available, I'm just curious. We got one bid, are there no other paving companies, or they're not interested, or I'm just curious why?
Through you, Mayor. Second. It is common for this area to see only one bid because the major player in the area is definitely Miller Paving. They're the only ones that have an asphalt plant in the nearby area. The closest alternative would be Interpaving in Timmins. Understanding that they did bid on jobs previously. They had an opportunity to bid like everybody else, and they seemed, I'm making an assumption, I'm assuming that their workload was too heavy for this year and they decided not to bid. Another alternative is Vanilla Construction, which is a little further north in the Cochrane-Hurst area. But my understanding is that they may not be interested in bidding in this area because Miller Paving is in the area. And they undertake usually the work. Everybody kind of has their official sector.
Counselor Owen?
Through you, your worship, to Stefan, I've been pushing for a new sidewalk by Civic for a number of reasons, all of which concern safety. I've been approached by people who use mobility devices, by seniors, and by parents with young children. And now that that's been removed, is it possible to move the concrete barriers that we have so that people will not park across that sidewalk, and people with less mobility or unpredictable children will not have to go out onto the road? It's strictly a safety concern with me. I know I've taken my own grandchildren there, and it is, you got one on each hand, and they're parked across the sidewalk, and you've got to go out onto the roadway. It's a very dangerous situation. I'm just wondering if we could get something else done instead.
Through Mayor White to Council. Yes, that is a topic that has been brought up, and that's why we had requested the price for Miller to potentially pave the area. But what was discovered is that the storm system in that area is extremely shallow. We believe that a reconstruction of that area will be needed, and we will be bringing something forward to council shortly to propose this. And what we were thinking in regards to delineating the sidewalk in the meantime, yes, concrete jersey barriers were considered. There are other alternatives like plastic parking curbs that are yellow, and they can be anchored down with pins. It would make it a lot easier for the Public Works Department to install them and remove them for winter needs, and a lot cheaper alternative as well.
Counselor Owen?
Yeah, again, through you, your worship, thank you, Stefan. Like I say, my concerns here are strictly about safety. And as long as we're working on the project, then I'm quite happy, because it's only when there's events there that it seems to be a problem. Like I go by there during the week and people, there's a few people playing tennis or pickleball or whatever, and they park the way they're supposed to. But when there's an event, and that's when you're gonna have the kids, that's when you're gonna have more people in mobility devices and more seniors. That's when they're parking across the sidewalk. So I appreciate that the town is looking into it. Thank you.
Anything further from members of council? Nothing noted, Madam Clerk?
Moved by Councillor Casey Owens, seconded by Councillor Rick Owens, be it resolved that report number 2023 PW12 entitled Award of Contract 2023 Paving Program Modified Scope of Work be received. That council hereby award contract Miller Paving Limited as per the terms set out in 59823 RFP, including the modified scope of work as presented, and a sum of $674,150 plus HST, and that the mayor municipal clerk be authorized to execute a contract between the corporation of the town of Kirkland Lake and Miller Paving Limited for the town's 2023 paving program. And finally, that an execution bylaw authorizing the execution of a contract and any related subcontracts and subsequent amendments proposed in favor of the municipality without detrimental financial impact be brought forward for three readings on October 3rd, 2023.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Thank you, sir. Item number 6.2, food cycler pilot program household waste diversions. Brian Springer, manager, operations and environmental services.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council. So the food cycling program is a household waste diversion. On March 7th, council received a delegation presentation from the Food Cycle Science Corporation to explain their product line of in-house food composters, which is the food cycler. There are many benefits to composting. However, not everyone has the means or the outdoor space to actually compost food waste. The town was presented with an opportunity for 100 households to participate in the 12-week pilot program, which are attachments 2A and B, which would allow Kirkland Lake residents and schools to try the food cycler products. For discussion, the Food Cycler Science Corporation, known as FCS, are offering again in attachment 2A, 2 indoor products for residents and schools to try. If the town takes part in the pilot program this year, they have a model. It's called the Food Cycler FC30, which is a smaller unit, and the net cost to each resident for that is $150. This model can take 2.5 liters of food waste and turn it into a handful, approximately 100 grams of sterile, odorless, and nutrient-rich byproduct. The process takes approximately 4 to 8 hours and requires 2 refillable filters to actually control odor. And the power consumption is that of like a laptop, approximately 0.8 kilowatt per hour. The larger unit, which is referred to as the Mastro, the resident cost is actually $300. This model can take 5 liters of food waste and turn it into a handful, approximately 200 grams of the same sterile, odorless, and nutrient-rich byproduct. The process takes a little bit longer, 6 to 8 hours, and requires, again, refillable filters for the odor control, and the power consumption is slightly more. That again, actually like a laptop at 1.3 kilowatt per hour. The food waste can include fruits, vegetables, scraps, meat, fish, dairy, bones, shells, pits, coffee grinds, and filters, and even paper towels. The FSC has partnered with over 99 municipalities and have obtained positive results. Part of the attraction of participating in this pilot program is that municipalities receive a discount on the units through the contribution of an investment from AAFC/Impact Canada, which has been received by FCS. The goal and potential benefits of such a program includes reduction of food waste in landfills. FCS estimates 2 tons of waste diversion per unit over its lifetime. So with 100 units, approximately 200 tons of waste that would be actually diverted from our landfill. Ancillary benefits are reduction in trucking costs, reduction in collection costs, reduction in CO2, which is a positive environmental impact. Potential savings of approximately $20,000 for 100 units over the lifetime of the units. Rather than the town immediately enter into a partnership with FCS to participate in the pilot program, an option for council to consider is whether it wishes administration to first conduct a survey to determine interest locally in the food cycler. A survey would be developed explaining the food cycler pilot program and would be administered to the public by early October of this year. It should be noted that the survey would contain a section allowing residents and schools interested in participating in the pilot the ability to pre-register, which is in attachment 2C, prior to the end of October. Administration would then provide a report to council in November of this year with the survey results, including further recommendations. If council then direct the town to participate in the pilot program with the Food Cycle Science Corporation, the units would be ordered before year's end. Therefore, council has two options. Option one, direct the town to participate in the food cycler pilot program and enter into an agreement with Food Cycle Science Corporation as described. Or option two, conduct a survey to determine local interest in the food cycler pilot program. Given the above discussion, administration is seeking council's direction to proceed. The report recommendation would require amending based on council's preferred option as follows. Option one, approval to participate in the food cycler pilot program, and that council hereby approve the development of a food waste diversion initiative through the introduction of a pilot program in partnership with Food Cycle Science Corporation, utilizing food cycler technology, and that the mayor and municipal clerk be authorized to execute a partnership agreement with the Food Cycle Science Corporation for the pilot program for 106 household units as presented. And that the sum of $35,000 be drawn from working capital reserve to fund the town's participation in the food cycler pilot program. And that any unspent portion or refund received by the town surrounding the funding of the project be returned to the working capital reserve. And finally, an execution bylaw be brought forward for 3 readings on October 3rd. Option two, conduct a pre-survey and pre-registration prior to formally deciding on the town's participation in the food cycler pilot program. And that the chief administrative officer be directed to create a pre-survey and pre-registration to gauge local interest in the food cycler pilot program within the community. And finally, that a report be brought forward in November of this year, presenting the results of the survey and with further recommendations. The other alternatives to be considered, council could consider non-participation in the pilot program while continuing to offer outdoor composters to the residents of Kirkland Lake. The town of Kirkland Lake has been offering outdoor composters since 2016 to its residents at a cost of $70 per unit. Only 12 units have been sold since 2016. Outdoor composters can be quite efficient. However, the composting process can take up to a year or more for food waste to become usable soil. Therefore, given the low participation rates with the outdoor composters, a new approach to food recycling for residents is worth for us to consider. Financial considerations, participation in the food cycle pilot program will materialize in an initial cost to the town in the sum of $34,100. The funds would be drawn from the working capital reserve if all 100 units are sold. The net cost of the town would be in the sum of $11,600. If the units remain unsold, FSC has identified a buyback guarantee where they will buy back any unsold units after. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we're going a bit too long here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, thank you for that. Alan, I do appreciate, the in-depth report. I do believe council members have had the opportunity to read the report as, given. Does any council member have a question on this item? None. Peter, go. Councilor Owens?
Comment,
Yeah.
through you, Madam Mayor. I think it's great we're moving forward with this. My concern, not necessarily concern, is if we've got a greater intake than 106 households, can the program be expanded, or do we still cap it at 106 for this year?
Yes, is the answer to that. In fact, if we order before the year's end, then FSC will honor all of the pricing that is actually shown in there.
Thank you. No?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to council, just as a bit of information, Red Lake is on their third pilot program. So they had the initial pilot program, there's more demand. So then they went forward, that was their third pilot program. So we can go more.
Thank you. Councilor Dykens, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I can't remember now.
That's okay.
Please come back.
Yep. Councilor Owen?
Yeah, through you, your worship. I think part of the reluctance here to compost outdoors is bears. The last thing I want to do is put food in my yard and attract bears. I do it at my cottage and I don't have a problem, but in town, when we have a bad bear season, that's the last thing you want to do. And this equipment certainly would take care of that problem. People could compost, get the benefits of composting, and at the same time not attract bears. My only question is, how much are the filters for these things?
I believe they're $22 for a pack of 2. Just let me verify that.
Probably in the report, I just can't see it.
25.
Or,
25? And how long do they last?
to my understanding, they have to be changed out 2 to 3 times per year.
Okay.
Actually, depending on use, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah. Okay, that's not, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from council? Councilmember Dykens?
I remember now, thank you, Mayor White, for you to, Mr. Springer. When, is there a deadline for the pilot project, like for us to apply?
They've extended it for us to the end of this year. So as long as we make a decision and order before the end of the year, then everything that's in this year report is the same.
So the end of December?
Yes.
The calendar year, okay. I guess just 2 comments. I guess if we go forward with this, we're opening up the budget once again, John. And the other thing that I wondered, like, I know we were looking into this particular company, but there are other companies out there, and I just wonder if that's an issue for anyone, that we just are looking into one.
I believe.
I know that's what we asked you to do, but.
Yes. I believe it's only FSC or FCS that has this here, funding. The other ones we would have to buy at their, retail price.
Anything further from council? So I just wanted to add my few comments on this. This is company that featured themselves at last year's AMO. And so that's how our community became aware of it, because when I was grabbing a huge amount of flyers for my first time at AMO, I had given flyers to all the directors when I came back last time. So I do appreciate that they had come and they had spoken to council, and this is how the ball kind of got rolling. It definitely has positives for our community, like was needed in the report about costing effectiveness and of course land use. So we do know that our dump is not going to last forever. So anything that we can do to extend the life is definitely a positive in my books. Now, with the motion itself, we had two options that we had to choose from. Do you have a mover and a seconder already, or?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Madam Mayor, member of council, so council has two options tonight. One, you can dive right into the program and we can continue that, we can jump in and take part. Or second, that we initiate a survey to gain some sort of gauge on the feelings of the community, if they are amenable to going down this road. And if they are, then we come back to council with the survey results and our recommendations based on those survey results. So two options: we can approve it tonight and we can sign up on the pilot program, or we can issue a survey.
Councillor Shava.
Yeah, to you, Madam Mayor, for the second letter option, what will be the time span for all the consultation with the residents? Because as you said, we have to the end of the year, right? To adopt this. So if we have to go to the latter option, what are the procedures that are involved in getting things going in a very fast way so that we won't miss the deadline?
To Madam Mayor, to members of council, our first endeavor would be to actually draft and complete a survey. We already have the pre-registration form from SDS. Then we would continue to draft that survey. We would then conduct the survey most likely in early October. Run it for, I would say, at least 2-3 weeks. Then we'll be able to get back to council in November, and by that time we have enough time to get back to the company to indicate if we're going to the program or not. So if we start now, we can make it by the year's end to take advantage of the pricing that we've been offered on this. But we have to start, of course, soon to draft that survey.
Well, so
Sorry, Councillor Riley.
So you're recommending to,
No, I'm just explaining if you went for option 2, how the timing may work. So I'm not recommending this, no, that's just the explanation of the timing for that one.
Councillor Dykens.
So are you looking for a motion, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, may I?
Yes, absolutely.
I'd like to recommend option 2.
Okay, so we have a mover. Do we have a seconder for option 2?
Like you said.
Councillor Shava has so seconded. Madam Clerk can read the motion when she's
Sure.
ready.
That the recommendation be amended to include option 2. So the following paragraphs be added, and that the chief administrative officer be directed to create a pre-survey and pre-registration to gauge local interest in the food cycle pilot program within the community. And finally, that a report be brought forward in November 2023, presenting the results of the survey and with further recommendations.
All in favor? Opposed?
I have a question.
Oh, sorry.
I got over,
Oh,
we
sorry.
went straight to the motion, so
Fine.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so for option one. Because we all know stuff happens, if there's a hiccup, we miss the deadline, we get a price increase. So with option one, is there a way instead of the survey, you register online, we know exactly who's gonna get one or who is interested in getting one, and you place your order based on those pre-orders, which kind of acts as your survey, but places your order at the same time.
Yes,
Sure.
please, sorry, Madam Clerk's gonna speak to that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to all the council. So there is a pre-registration and a survey that comes with the marketing and the process of the food cycler technology. However, the municipality must participate, enter into the partnership agreement before they can actually conduct that survey and pre-registration, which means that you wouldn't have the municipal, if you went with option two, or if you were looking at option two, you wouldn't have the consultation of the public knowing whether or not they want to participate in before you would actually have to front the money to be able to participate in the project to get the pre-registration and the survey out. Did I do that right? Did I do that?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
I understand, I just, my fear in all this through Madam Mayor, again, is municipal politics are slow, we have a hiccup, we miss the deadline, and then there's a price increase. I'm more of like, let's get on board and buy it, like, we need to do our share for the environment, this is it's a small step, but it's a step in the right direction. But that's my.
No, I understand where you're coming from, Counselor. Counselor Shala?
Yeah, thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. I think that us sitting at this table, one of the things that we really have to be aware of is that when it comes to people asking people to spend their own money, we have an obligation to consult with them. So I think the consultation to me is a very important part of this, and that will give us a gauge of interest or disinterest before we move forward.
Thank you. Counselor Owen?
Through you, your worship, I have the same concern as Councillor Owens. It's incredible sometimes how slow things can move. And I'm not pointing a finger or anything else, it's just, that's the way it is. I am a proponent of composting, and I think my concern is that when we do a survey, we get such a small response. It's not as usually a statistically significant response to base a decision on. And I'm not a statistician, but I know there's, you need X percentage response, and then it's run through a program to say what the significance is. I'd much rather just go ahead with the program. I was elected to represent people and to make decisions on their behalf. That trust was placed in me in the last election and the election before that. And I, in good conscience, strongly believe that we will have enough residents in Kirkland Lake. We have a long history of environmental activism in the town. So I just soon go straight ahead with entering the program.
Okay. CEO Alan Smith?
If you, Madam Mayor, to members of the council, when I spoke with the recycling company, if we did decide to participate tonight, we would be able to tap in also to their marketing efforts. So they would help us with social media and also our advertising of the product to our community. So we would receive marketing support from recycling.
Counselor Jenkins?
To council, if we do run into a hiccup, we can still have at a meeting in November, just have a different motion. Is that not correct? So if we set out a time frame that for these 3 weeks, we'll wait for responses. We have all of October, right? So the first meeting in November, if there's a problem, we can change the motion or have a new motion. Is that procedurally okay? Or
I think I understand, but I'm not gonna make an assumption, so bear with me when I ask you.
Okay.
I ask you the question, Madam Mayor. So what I'm understanding is you're asking if there was an issue with going with option 2 and there was a delay, let's say, that you could have pass another motion at the November motion in you could go to option 1, let's say, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, so say we set a target, sorry, to you, Madam Mayor, we set a target, for, the first 3 weeks in October, we do a survey. We'll know by the 4th week of October if there's any hiccups, so the first, meeting in November, we can see where we're at, and if we need to change. I think it's still really important to gauge the interest of people. I know it doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it's still money. And if we can just, it's a, yeah, I would prefer that way. I'm totally for this, but I'd like to see the interest of the residents for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Owens.
We're not twisting the arms of the rest three, we're not twisting anybody's arms to purchase this. It's a choice, so if you wanna jump in on board, then you spend your own money, if not, like, we're not forcing you guys to spend the money.
It's
So,
still costing us money.
Okay, thank you for all the comments. So we did have the motion on the floor and it was in the middle of being voted on. However, I think because of further conversations around the table, including the marketing aspect that was added to the conversation, I'd like Madam Clerk to read the motion again.
Okay, so the amendment to the recommendation again is to add the following paragraphs, and that the chief administrative officer be directed to create a pre-survey and pre-registration to gauge local interest in the food cycler pilot program within the community. And finally, that a report be brought forward in November 2023, presenting the results of the survey and with further recommendations.
All in favor? Opposed? Item carried. Item number 7, consideration of notices of motions. Councillor Lad Shaba, low speed vehicle pilot program.
Thank you very much, through you, Madam Chair. So, had a lot of complaints and discussion about low-speed vehicles. As you know, we have a lot of them on our roads now, sidewalk, and it's going to get more as some of us get to that age where we need one. So this came up at our Youth Services Board meeting. It's a topic of discussion, and it was recommended that we bring it for council to consider a pilot, low-speed vehicle pilot program. This, to me, is the way to go because when you have something like this, it's just a matter of time that accident will happen. Either the owner colliding with another owner, or the pedestrian, or God forbid, vehicles. So I think we have to get ready for this. This is coming. It's going to be more prevalent in our community. So we should have a way to at least have a bylaw in the future that will put us in a better spot to regulate the movement of low-speed vehicles. So I think the pilot program, to me, is a way to go. So I ask that you support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from council? Councillor Kylie has the option to speak first as he is the seconder if he so chooses.
Definitely, I agree with what Councillor Shaba is saying.
Thank you for that. Councillor Owen.
Yeah, first off, I don't know what this pilot project is. I don't have any information on it. I don't know if it's going to cost us money. I don't know anything about it. So I would have very difficult time supporting this motion. Also, low-speed vehicles. We already have a bylaw in place concerning mobility vehicles. Scooters and two-wheel vehicles that have pedals are currently covered under the Highway Traffic Act. So at this point, I certainly couldn't support this, not knowing what the pilot program is or what it entails, or whether it costs us money. And also I need a definition of low speed vehicles.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Mhm. So there was a link in the agenda, with the information. Councillor Shaba, do you have just an overview?
Like, it's really-
Yeah, it's printed for you. Do you have an overview?
Well,
Do you know-
initially,
Yeah. Go ahead.
okay, actually, you, Madam Chair, initially I was referring to them as scooters. Then when I got the link from the clerk, and I saw it's very detailed way of going about at least be part of it. That we could establish a bylaw in future. So I read what the clerk sent to me, the same thing that you have. That's all I knew about that, but all I know is that we're not, okay, let me just be very clear. I don't want any misunderstanding. Nobody's asking for the elimination or anything of sort. We're just making sure that, you know, everybody that we're using this in the future, and there's more, will be more and more, we use them in a safe way. So this is one way of getting to that. That's my reading of that pilot program, whereby municipality can become part of that and maybe come up with best practices. I can use that as a basis of a bylaw in future to regulate the movement of low speed vehicles. Maybe the clerk will help me out here because she did a lot of work on that.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Through you to all of council, I just would like to make note that the proposed notice of motion this evening speaks to the municipality potentially participating in the LSD pilot program. However, there needs to be consultation with the Ontario Provincial Police. There would be a further council report stemming from that consultation, including additional information, which would include costs, if any, parameters for enforcement, if any, and in order for the municipality to participate in the said pilot. So the premise of the motion this evening is for the municipality to entertain. Perhaps there needs to be a language change there, I don't know. However, the request is you're going to receive more information to that effect.
Thank you. Councillor Owens?
The link, there is no link in the motion.
Okay, so it's gonna start.
Yeah, there's no, but I Googled it. Like it's a simple Google, and you could go on the Ontario website, and it does explain the project and what the implications are. My fearness is that now, as it's, or my understanding, I'm not sure if this answer or this question can be answered, is that if we don't have this in place right now, it is considered illegal for these vehicles to be on a public road. So. If
Okay, through you, Madam Mayor, to all of council, at the police services board meeting, the board received information to identify by the detachment of the OPP, the local, that certain, unless there's a bylaw in place that stipulates that there are restrictions or conditions, under the Highway Traffic Act, they are not considered illegal.
can I have a follow-up on that?
Yes, please.
So that being said, do we need to participate in a program where we're gonna have to have some staff member somewhere, I don't know, fill out the criteria, the reports and the controlling of this, or because it is a safety concern, and I do share in that safety concern, wouldn't it be more prudent just to pass a bylaw that regulates the use of these vehicles on our local streets?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to all of council, again, the purpose of the motion, the way it is written for you this evening, is to have staff educate themselves and prepare a report to council stemming from a consultation that has to occur with the OPP to see what actually the municipality must include in such a bylaw if it is the will of council to continue in a pilot to this effect.
Okay, so, sorry, I'm gonna choose to speak at this time because I believe there is clarification that needs to happen. In the motion, it reads that the corporation of the town of Kirkland Lake participate in the LSD pilot program. So that is a definite that we're going to do this. And finally, that the chief administrative officer be directed to consult, prepare the report and prepare necessary bylaw. So when I read this motion, if we agree in positive to this evening, we are agreeing to be part of that pilot project rather than having a report be brought back with the requirements.
Maybe I'll read the entirety of the motion.
Yeah, because it does list all these issues, but yeah.
Whereas the town of Kirkland Lake has seen a steady increase in the ownership and usage of low-speed vehicles on its roads and sidewalks, and whereas the potential safety risks to the owners and the public are real and could be fatal, and whereas the provincial government has made significant updates to its framework in permitting the use of LSVs, and whereas those updates include but are not limited to the reduction in red tape to facilitate LSV ease of usage, and whereas municipalities are permitted to pass a bylaw regulating those use of LSVs, and whereas such bylaws may include safety standards and other criteria that municipalities may deem reasonable. And whereas at its meeting held on August 30th, 2023, the Kirkland Lake Police Services Board recommended the council participate in the province's LSV pilot program. Therefore, be it resolved that the corporation of the town of Kirkland Lake participate in the LSV pilot program. And finally, that the chief administrative officer be directed to and I'll just put A, B, and C, okay? A, consult with the local Ontario Provincial Police Detachment. B, prepare a council report stemming from that consultation, including additional information. And C, prepare the necessary bylaw in order for the town to participate in the provincial LSV pilot trial period.
Thank you.
The bylaw will have to come back for discussion at the council to answer the question. Before the municipality may be able to participate in the LSV pilot program.
Okay. So another discussion will be able to be had on this once the report comes back, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Councillor Owen?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you, Madam Clerk, for clarifying that alleviates the concerns I have. I'm all in favor of safety, as I spoke earlier on the safety issue and have spoken many times on safety issues. And I will also note that last summer I was in Toronto and I didn't have trouble with the traffic while I was walking or driving, but I certainly had trouble with what I would call low-speed vehicles who simply did not obey the law, and you never knew where they were coming from or where they were going. I know we won't have that concentration here, but we do now have fully enclosed low-speed vehicles, which is something new for the town and something we're going to have to deal with. So thank you.
Anything further from members of council? Okay, we did have the reading of the motion just previous. Is council okay with just voting as per that motion? It appears so. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for previously reading. All in favor? Opposed? Item carried. Item number 8, introduction, reading, and consideration of bylaws. There are none this evening. Questions from council to staff. Item number 9, there was none this evening. Item number 10, notices of motion. Councillor Owen.
I will cause to be moved the motion on hazardous waste at our next council meeting.
Thank you. So noted. Item number 11, councillors' reports. Anything from council to report? Councillor Kiley?
To your worship, I attended the International Overdose Awareness Day. It was well attended by yourself, your worship, and Councillor Owen. Was a very informative day. I attended the Blanche River Health Strategic Plan Workshop, and also attended recently the Lions Club Food Drive in Kincardine. And I'd like to congratulate the Lions Club for such a small group for putting on such a successful event. They're a great group of people, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Councillor Owen.
Yes, Madam Mayor. now that school's back in and a number of extracurricular activities have started up in the community, I just want to remind motorists that young children are very excitable. And especially during this time period when everything's new and starting up. And whether you're in a parking lot or on the road, please take extra care and caution. Because the last thing you would want to live with is having hurt a young child while you're driving, even though that probably wasn't your fault. The child just started out. So I just want to take this opportunity to say, please drive cautiously at this time of year and all year, but especially now.
Thank you. Anything further from the floor? Councillor Owens?
I had the opportunity last week with Mayor White. Actually, no, I had the opportunity to bring my civics class down to council chambers. Mayor White was present for the exercise. We set up a mock council session, so we held the elections in the classroom before coming down. We had one councillor absent, so we treated that as a vacant seat and had council re-elect a new councillor. This whole process was a lot faster than it would have been in real life. Anyway, so I had picked a report from the previous agenda and for the community grant program, and I had the students participate in the discussion if we were going to hand out money or not. Where some of us might think they'd be eager to give the money away, wasn't the case. They were very stringent with taxpayer money, not to say, I don't think cheap would be the right word, conservative with money, and did not give the full amount asked the group. They reduced the amount to $2,500, but gave the money in. It was a great experience. We had Mayor White present, and she guided the discussion. CA and the clerk participated in the discussion as well. We needed the clerk to clarify a point of procedure as we hadn't crossed that bridge in council with a motion from the floor. So it was an awesome experience. The kids loved it, participated, and if there's one thing to take from it or a comment from my acting mayor, Jude St. Cyr, is that it is harder than it looks to stay on topic. Because the clerk did, or the mayor who was acting as clerk, or kept the kids on topic, and they're not used to that in the classroom. We go left, we go right, we go all over the place. Council, you can't do that. So that was an awesome experience. And then one more quick report, gold miners. Mayor and myself have been attending, I've been attending for many years now, but I've convinced the mayor to come and join the ranks of local support. We've got an awesome team this year. The only thing missing would be a lot of people in the stands to encourage our local team. They do contribute a lot to our community, so I think it'd be awesome if we can get more fans in those seats yelling and cheering on our team. Thanks.
Anything further from the floor? Okay, I will proceed with my own report. Since our last meeting, September 5th, 2023, the Office of the Mayor has attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting, in which the date of the Santa Claus Parade was announced. It will be November 23rd. I encourage all members of the public, local groups, and businesses to get involved in this wonderful tradition. I attended the electronic presentation from MPAC, the Role of Property Tax and Assessment System, a municipal update. If council members are interested in receiving the deck, I actually have it in my email. The long and short of it is the 2016 valuation date continues to be used until instruction are received by the province, and the province has not yet provided MPAC with information regarding the review they wish to undertake of that system for modernization. So on both points, they're kind of in a holding pattern for right now. I did give the welcoming remarks at the Northern Ontario Art Association Juror Exhibition opening event hosted by the Kirkland Lake Arts Club. This is one of the longest running clubs in Kirkland Lake, as it was established in 1944 and was one of the founding members that formed the Northern Ontario Art Association, which has grown to more than 15 clubs with more than 380 members across the north. As always, I'm taken aback by the level of talent that our local artists have. And if you have a chance, please go to the museum and check out the exhibit while it remains in Kirkland Lake. I was invited to attend the puck drop for the Kirkland Lake gold miners. This season, we actually have two members that have ties with our community, which is Nolan Roscoe Fong, number 21, and number 27, defenseman Cameron Allen. So if you go to those games, you're going to actually support local bodies. So that's pretty cool. I did speak at the Take Back the Unite event at Kinross Park on Monday, September 6th. This will be an annual event, so hopefully it grows as it continues. I virtually attended the Empowering Cultures of Belonging, celebrating the voices of First Nations. As a non-Indigenous leader in 2023, I was taken aback listening to Senator Michelle Audette's lived experience as a female living under the Indian Act. She was one of the 5 commissioners responsible for conducting the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and her strength and courage to endure was certainly inspirational. I gave remarks at the celebration of the sinking of the number 4 shaft Macassa mine site for Inigo Eagle, and as the daughter of a former miner, it was certainly an overwhelming experience. I attended the second steering committee for the Icelandic prevention model, and I had the pleasure of meeting the leader of the provincial NDP, Merritt Stiles, in Temiskaming Shores, along with fellow community leaders, including Mayor Tori Delorier of Iroquois Falls. As Councillor Owens noted, we had our first school visit for that mock council meeting, and town hall invitation letters have been sent out to each school last week as well. And finally, today I attended the statue unveiling at Northern College. The figures of the child dancers evoke many emotions when is a fitting tribute, memorial, and acknowledgement of those members of the Indigenous communities who endured the residential school system, and I highly recommend you go out to see this statue. Thank you, all of council, for enduring my report, because it's always a lengthy one. Madam Clerk?
Moved by Councillor Dolly Dyson, seconded by Councillor Rick Owen, be it resolved that Council signs a proclamation. Sorry, apologize.
Yeah, that's okay.
Moved by Councillor Casey Owen, seconded by Councillor Dolly Dyson, be it resolved that the verbal updates for members of council be received.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 12, additional information is the proclamation for National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Whereas the Truth and Reconciliation Commission released its final report on June 2nd, 2015, which included 94 calls to action to redress the legacy of residential schools and advance the process of Canadian reconciliation. And whereas all Canadians and all orders of government have a role to play in reconciliation. And whereas recommendation number 80 of the TRC called upon the federal government in collaboration with Aboriginal peoples to establish as a statutory holiday a National Day for Truth and Reconciliation to ensure that public commemoration of the history and legacy of residential schools remain a vital component of the reconciliation process. And whereas in 2021, the federal government declared September 30th as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, National Orange Shirt Day, and established this date as a statutory holiday. And whereas September 30th has been reclaimed by survivors as a day to listen to the stories of those affected by a residential school system, to celebrate the inherent value of Indigenous peoples and their cultures, and to reflect on the ways in which our society must improve in order to better uplift and respect Indigenous peoples living in Canada. And whereas the town of Kirkland Lake supports taking concrete action towards reconciliation and believes that acknowledging National Day for Truth and Reconciliation as a municipal statutory holiday is an important step in supporting both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples' ability to engage with and understand the value of Indigenous history, culture, and tradition. Now, therefore, I, Stacey White, Mayor of the town of Kirkland Lake, do hereby proclaim September 30th, 2023 as National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Madam Clerk.
Moved by Counselor Dolly Dyken, seconded by Counselor Rick Owen, be it resolved that council sanction the proclamation for National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in the town of Kirkland Lake.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 3, closed session. There will be none this evening. Item number 14, matters from closed session. There obviously are none. Item number 15, confirmation bylaw.
Moved by Counselor Rick Owen, seconded by Counselor Patrick Kiley, be it resolved that the following bylaw be read. Number passed, signed by the mayor and municipal clerk and sealed appropriate to be affixed thereto. Bylaw number 2365 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Tuesday, September 19th, 2023.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous. Item number 16, adjournment.
Moved by Counselor Dolly Dyken, seconded by Counselor Rod Chava, be it resolved that this regular meeting of council to now adjourn at 6 p.m.
All in favor? Opposed? None noted. Item carried unanimous.